listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. Today's Monday, Memorial Day, May 30th. This is going to be a short podcast, but I just want to acknowledge that everything that was said in the previous podcast that was back on May 26th, it's so far all good. Even that hurricane that was mentioned at the very end, which I mentioned the GFS model happens to be showing a hurricane. There is a hurricane actually formed, and we're going to have to talk about this perhaps more when there is more time and we have temperatures. That picture that was put on, that goes all the way back, I think, to May 24th. I have to check that out. May 24th or May 26th. That picture for tomorrow from the European computer model showing Boston having crashing temperatures in the afternoon as temperatures crash into the upper 50s and Poughkeepsie, New York goes into the mid 90s. Amazingly, the European computer model is still forecasting this for tomorrow. Boston, Massachusetts, we have forecasters saying the high will be in the upper 70s, but crashing temperatures in the afternoon. They don't tell you how much the temperatures will be crashing, but the European computer model shows what I saw as temperatures dropping to around 60 degrees in Boston. Last week, that picture showed it's a little bit of it wasn't clear whether it was 57, 59, but it's really not too different than what it's showing right now. And we're going to assume that that's all going to be happening because we're less than 24 hours away from this, and these two cities are approximately 146 miles apart. I'm sure you can get a more drastic temperature change in some areas. Just it wouldn't be 50s to 90s. You would have to deal with, you probably have some cities only 50, 60 miles apart and 20-degree temperature changes as well. Poughkeepsie, New York is forecasted to break a record tomorrow as high temperatures go into the mid-90s. I think one of the reasons why temperatures are going to be so high in Massachusetts or at Poughkeepsie, New York, in that area, I think the dew points are going to be lower because the soil moisture is lower. But I need to look into that more. In the Midwest, we have in the St. Louis area very high soil moisture. I think it will be reaching 90 degrees there. Maybe it has already. I'm not 100% sure on that. The dew points are probably high if you based it upon the soil moisture. And I believe, at the very least, the south parts of Chicago, Kankakee, I believe, did hit 90 today. And more research is needed in regards to Midway and O'Hare Airport. I wish everyone a wonderful night. Thank you for listening. You're listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. Over the past few days, we can start to develop finally an appreciation for the GFS computer model. It's the GFS computer model last week that really that brought an awareness of this hurricane, and it was not the European computer model. More importantly, however, the GFS model, as of last week, was already forecasting very cool conditions to move over to the Boston area for Thursday. The European computer model showed temperatures going into the upper 90s, even low hundreds for Massachusetts. We have to assume at this point, since both models are forecasting the conditions to remain cool over Massachusetts for Thursday, the chances are it will. And that's bravo for the GFS computer model. One thing, though, we still have basically established when it comes to the Midwest, so far this spring, going into the summer season, the European computer model has been absolutely amazing. Its accuracy is really amazing. Also, in regards to going 3 to 5 days out, I think, even for the East Coast, 3 to 5 days out, the European computer model is doing really an amazing job, as we already pointed out for tomorrow. Basically, nothing has changed from what it said May 26th. Perhaps even May 24th. I have to look it up again. We have Boston, Temperatures crashing into the upper 50s to low 60s tomorrow afternoon after high temperatures reaching the upper 70s according to some forecasters, and temperature record heat in Poughkeepsie, New York. The previous record 92 degrees, forecast high tomorrow mid 90s. If it's low dew point air over there, we have to see whether that 100 degrees that was forecasted by the European computer model for Thursday in Massachusetts. So granted, it doesn't look like it's going to be happening, but the question is, was the European computer model on to something in regards to this air mass? The air mass on the East Coast tomorrow is the same air mass that would have been on the East Coast on Thursday. Some areas perhaps still will be within that air mass on Thursday. The Midwest here in the Chicago area comes to an end after tomorrow already. The question is, could it be we will have a spot that will hit 100 degrees? So, if we have low dew point air, I think it's a possibility. I would put my number at 99. If we have low dew point air, that has to be looked into. We certainly don't have too high dew points. The dew points are not that high on the East Coast. Even, I know the way these forecasts are worded is hot and humid. But it says hot and humid when the dew points are in the 60s. It says hot and humid when dew points are in the 70s, of course, but even the mid-60s, the terminology doesn't change until you get into the upper 70s when you start to see very humid and stuff like that. So the Midwest, the dew points this spring have been hanging out, especially in the state of Missouri, closer to 70 degrees. We'll have more information on that. I plan on having more information about all this tomorrow. For now, thank you for listening. I wish everyone a good night. You're listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. We have on the Northeast, looking at the weather map and the European computer model, I just checked it out, and it's not just 146 miles where we have those temperatures ranging from about 60 degrees to 94 degrees. Actually, within a 60-mile radius from each other, a 60-mile area from the Boston area to places in north central Massachusetts, temperatures will be ranging from 59 to 90 degrees in a mere 60-mile distance, which is quite phenomenal. Now, one thing that I want to point out is that the soil moisture levels in Massachusetts actually are very dry. If you look at the rest of the East Coast, they're not very dry. They're 50% or higher, really, for the entire East Coast. But when you get to Massachusetts, it gets down to 20%, possibly even lower. So in defense of the European computer model last week, which was forecasting temperatures to hit 100 degrees in Massachusetts on Thursday, this could be explained, really, you have this air mass, the European computer model, they were forecasting the heat to continue through Thursday. It actually looks like the heat is going to be coming to an end for the Midwest and the Northeast after tomorrow. It continues in Baltimore for Wednesday as well. We're going to have highs in Baltimore in the mid-90s. Dew points over there are in the low 60s. But you go to Massachusetts, if it would be hot, you could certainly hear why temperatures would be very close to 100 or perhaps even higher, because it would make sense to say that the dew points would be really low. You have low soil moisture. The winds are not off the ocean. Even if they were, you're dealing with water temperatures in the 50s. But the winds won't be off the ocean, and temperatures are forecasted to get up to 90 degrees in parts of north central Massachusetts, southern New Hampshire tomorrow. Could they get hotter? What will the dew points be? Will the dew points be a reflection of the soil moisture? Well, in Missouri, it has not. Dew points, according to the European, you shouldn't need a European computer model to see what happened today, but it looks like dew points were in the 60s. That needs to be verified with the National Weather Service from places like St. Louis, which covers Columbia, Missouri, Hannibal, Missouri, but it looks like, from what I saw, the map that I saw, dew points were only in the mid-60s despite the high soil moisture of actually 80% for much of southeast Missouri, probably about 70% in the St. Louis area, dropping to 60% in the Chicago area. Louisiana is drier, but then when you get to Texas, it's really dry. And despite the lower dew points, we still are struggling to hit 90 degrees. These things need to be looked into, but it looks like widespread 80s across the Midwest. And, back on May 11th, temperature hit, in that May 11th heat wave, temperature actually did hit 94 degrees in St. Louis, exactly what we mentioned here would be happening several days in advance. Temperatures did hit 94 degrees in St. Louis, and realized that was with high humidity, with dew points in the 70s. And now we can't even manage to do that. So we actually just have beautiful, perfect swimming weather that covered the area for nothing dangerous, no deadly heat. And if you want to have more of an appreciation for what we have, you just have to go back to May 11th and see what could have easily happened. We have sunshine. Why was it so much hotter and more humid then than it is now? That's something that people just have to appreciate, that we don't have that deadly heat now. It survived for the Memorial Day weekend. It's coming to an end a little bit quicker than what we thought last week, but we still survived the Memorial Day weekend. In regards to precipitation, it looks like there is precipitation, areas of rain that will be moving into the Illinois area during the overnight hours, but it just disintegrates, it dissipates by the time it hits Chicago. We have a really strong low pressure system moving up the Dakotas. It started up in South Dakota this morning. It's going to be moving north of the international border by tomorrow morning, reaching peak intensity right around 6 a.m. And this rain, the range of the precipitation is not just rain, but it's thunderstorms. Some of them are really strong. Especially, you're going to have some of them every now and then, some really strong storms like in the St. Louis area. The usual spots, they seem to dissipate by the time they hit Chicago. By tomorrow evening, though, it does look like rain. Perhaps some thunderstorms may hit the Chicago area. And I think there's also a severe weather risk, especially for areas south of Chicago, which we would have more information on that perhaps tomorrow. So for now, it actually is really enjoyable. It's warm weather, and enjoy. Thank you for listening.